Hey guys, it's Mike coming to you live from the Backyard Oasis here in sunny Dallas, Texas. It's a hot one. It is about almost 5 o'clock at night on a Saturday and it's 102 degrees out here. But you know, I'm a Texan and I'm used to it. I'm wearing a black shirt and I have a long beard, whatever. Pool's going behind me. I'm gonna go jump in there in a minute. We got a cool camera to talk about today. And I also kind of have a funny story how I obtained this camera, and so I'm probably gonna tell that as well. Without further ado, let's jump in and let's talk about this bad boy. Yeah. Graflex Crown Graphic. This is an amazing specimen of a 4x5 large format camera. Look at that bad boy. That thing's huge, man. People used to carry these things around and do press photography with these. Which is pretty much what this model was. This is not the fancy field camera that you're going to see where people have, you know, Ansel Adams didn't use this thing, you know, a camera like this. He used a different large format. This was a press camera, man. This was a workhorse camera. It's designed for you to be able to walk around. You can use it as a rangefinder if you know how to do it in this top here. So let's jump into some of the settings. So as you can see, it has bellows, so it slides in and out here. It has these cool stops right here on the slide, and what those stops do is it allows you to set. You turn this knob here, and as you turn this knob, get to where I can do this. You'll see the numbers here lining up, and so what you did was you put the stops on there because that's the focal length that you have in there to be able to hit these marks right here. So right now it's at 6 meters. 8 meters, 10 meters, 15, 25, 50, 100 infinity right now. So you're basically at an infinity. So you just roll it in and out. It goes in and out about that much. This is complex to use. You got to really pay attention to what you're doing when you go to set this thing up. So one of the things you have to do is actually loosen up the side pieces here. It's kind of hard to see. Let me pull this down a little bit so you can see. So you have these pieces here, these little screw guys here, and you have to loosen those up. And what you have to do is actually center your lens and your bellows. You got to center your lens in the screen back here. It's ground glass, so we'll look at that here in a second. But you have to, you know, you pull these up. That goes with this other rangefinder thing I'll show you in a second. But basically, you have to sit there and kind of center these things. You can't just leave it all the way down on the bottom. Because the angle of the lens will take a weird photograph back here in the back, and it won't be exactly square to the lens, so you won't capture everything you want to capture. So while you're messing with that, they also have this other cool thing called tilt shift. So this is a pretty cool method here. This one particularly, it doesn't let you go back with the tilt shift. It only lets you go forward on the bottom. So what you do is it allows you to do that with your lens. Well, why would you do that? Well, if you're taking architectural photos, back up here you can see my face, do architectural photos with this thing, the bottom half, you'll need to focus this a little bit closer than the top half. So the top half is going to be at the 100 or infinity, and the bottom half will be, you know, somewhere else. And so you can see all that in real time and how it focuses in the back of the camera, and we're going to look at that here in a second. So I'm going to kick this tilt shift back. It also allows you to do some really cool effects. If you do the tilt shift and you center your subject and you focus on the center point of your subject, you can actually get it to be like really cool hazy and a cool like bokeh at the top and the sides and stuff, and it's really interesting how that works. So if you don't want to use the rangefinder part of this, you take this guy here in the front, you flip this forward to the middle point and just push it back, and there's these little tabs on the rail system, and you just flip them down, and it allows you to pull the bellows all the way out. So you can go really far out there with this lens for focusing. When you do that, there's some calculations you have to do, and there's a couple of apps that you can download and that'll show you how to do this. But basically, you have to change your because of your distance and your focal length here, you have to change your f-stops and make accommodations for the fact that the light has further to go from the lens to the back of the camera in this big old monster here. Or you could not, because a lot of times I don't, just because I'm lazy, and you can take really good pictures and not worry about that. Yeah, so anyways, so the way this thing, you know, again, it comes back and forth. This little bar here just helps you move this thing up and down. There's a rangefinder piece here on the back, so if you want to look through that at a further distance than what your rangefinder will do, this actually helps you kind of square up where you're looking. And then it does go up and down for distance, which is interesting. So the further out the subject is, you'll want to change the angle that you're taking a photo with, push it back down. And like I said, there's the, you know, you look through these guys here for the rangefinder to focus it, and it works just like any other rangefinder. This whole component here, it allows you to kind of go back and forth, stepping back and forth, and kind of get the shot in focus. It's not a reflection of what's here. It's basically just letting you know that what you're wanting from a distance wise, like that you have that setting correct for that distance that you're trying to shoot for, and give you a better idea of whether or not you're in focus. Yeah, but what the hell, what's the fun in that? So let's see. So once we've done all that, we've looked at these pieces here. We're going to look at the front. So on the lens here, typical lens, it has the shutter in the lens itself. So you just kick that guy over there to cock it, and then you push that guy down. This little, I'm not sure what it is. It's got like, it's springs and something in there to kind of slow it down, but basically what it allows for is you plug, if you're doing a flash on here, you actually hook your flash into this, and then it helps with the syncing on the flash, because the lens will fire at a different speed than what the flash would need to fire at, and so this allows you to do that. I've never used a flash with this thing. I only shoot natural light with this thing. And again, at the end of this video, there's going to be some pictures that I've taken with this, and it's pretty cool, natural light stuff. You never use one of these old cameras without a cable release. It's your best friend, because you don't want to have to be like fumbling around doing this business. So you just screw your cable release in here and push the button, and you're good to go. The other piece on here is you have your, sorry, I gotta get this. So to focus this thing, because it's a shutter, this is where it gets complex. You have to open this up, make sure you don't have any film in the back, and I'll show you why. And then you open that up, and it opens the lens all the way up. So this little guy here will open the lens up and let you see through it. Now, let's pretend we're taking a photo. This little tab here opens up the back. Look at that. You can see the pool and stuff in the sky behind me, and you can see me in there, maybe. Yeah, and everything is, what? Upside down. That's right. Everything is upside down in that back end there. You can use this in daylight and look through there and see some stuff. Not in direct daylight, because you're looking at ground glass. That is a piece of ground glass in there that you're focusing on, and you know, because of the angle and the shade right here, you can actually see it. But you never travel without one of these. So this is a hood, and move this over a little bit. And basically you just attach the hood around here, and it's got Velcro on it, and then you stick your head under there, and then it's dark and you can see stuff. You do want to make sure that you buy a hood that's big enough. A lot of times folks buy these hoods, like the one I bought, and it's not quite long enough. You need to be able to get a hood that's big enough that you can step back. Because to be able to look in here and actually focus your eyes on this tiny little screen and see everything, sometimes you got to step back a little bit, because getting really, really close is hard to do. But you can get really close, and if you really want to get sophisticated with this thing, if you're really trying to take a razor freaking sharp picture, you can. You take this guy off, and then you take one of those little magnifiers that you use for looking at old school negatives. When you used to have to look on a light table at negatives, you can take one of those and set it up against this thing and actually look at the detail of exactly where it's at, and super fine tune your photograph if you want to. I've never done that, and I don't ever plan to do that because this thing, the adjustments on it are not super friendly. They're not super smooth. It's an old press camera. It was used, and I'll kind of tell the story about it. What I know, at least, from the gentleman that I purchased this from. So let's talk about that story. All right, so these cameras are not cheap. You're gonna pay some money for these things. I, on the other hand, did not. I got this thing for a steal. Well, let's talk about it. So I went on one of those little buy, sell, trade apps, like Let Go or OfferUp or Facebook or something. And I found this thing on there, and the guy was advertising it for $160. And I was like, immediately, bells went off. This is, one, it's either been stolen, two, it is broken, or three, I just looked into the deal of the century. So at the time, I didn't have $160 to buy this camera. I had bought a bunch of other cameras, and my camera fund was super low, like $80 low. So I reached out to this guy and said, hey, I'm interested in your camera. I don't have $160. I got $80, and I'll give you $80 for it. Here's why I did that. So I went on and I looked at his profile, and this dude was shady as fuck in his profile picture. We're talking like prison tattoos on his face, gang tattoos on his neck, things like that. So I was like, okay, this guy's probably stolen this from somebody. I'll spend the $80. I'll shoot it out into the community in DFW and see if anybody's had one stolen recently. You know, it's worth trying to recover somebody's camera because these things are really cool and they're expensive. So anyways, and then if not, I just got a camera for $80. He says, no, we're not going to do that. I can't do it that low. So I'm like, okay, that's fine, no big deal. So I ride it out for about a week. He hits me back up and he said, hey, you still interested in that camera? I've had a couple people back out on me. They didn't want to meet me to do the deal. And he's like, if you'll meet me to do the deal, then we'll do that. You know, I'll do the $80. I was like, okay, sure. So let's go to a well-lit place in the middle of the day, maybe the police station or something. Anyways, we go back and forth, play phone tag back and forth, and you know, it's not looking promising. He ghosts me for a couple days, but then he finally hits me up and he's like, hey man, I just got off work. If you can meet me in like the next 15 minutes at my house here in Grand Prairie, which is a suburb of Dallas, if you can meet me here at my house, I'll do this deal for $80. And I was like, okay, I knew the area. I had some friends that used to live in this area, so I know the area. And I'm like, it's not that great an area. Yes, my friends have moved out, and it was like 20 years ago the last time I was there. It's gotten worse. It's a really poor neighborhood, and not just poor. It's like crime-ridden. It's bad. So, anyways, enough about the political state of Grand Prairie. But so, anyways, I go to this guy's house. I pull up, and he is out mowing his yard. And I mean, if there was a movie stereotype character of a gangbanger from LA, this dude looked like it. And so I get out of the car. He's like, hey man, you Mike? And I'm like, yeah. Are you Ace? His name was Ace. And I knew that because his profile picture said that, and also it said it on the side of his neck, like really big and giant, really bad tattoos. So I'm like, hey, yeah, okay, you're Ace, cool, that's awesome. Let's do this deal. He's like, you got the money? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, let me see it. I'm like, oh shit. I'm about to get robbed for $80 in a front yard of somebody's house here. And I like pull it out, and he's like, hold on. And he turns around and he just nods to his girlfriend on the front, she's sitting on the front stoop. She runs in the house. She comes back out with like a black bag, plastic bag. It's all tied up. It looks heavy. It looks like it's the camera because it's all big and boxy. And she hands me the camera and I hand him the money. And I'm like, I think this is how they sell drugs in the movies, but I don't know. I've never done that. So I'm like, and this bag smelled like weed. I was like, did I just buy a bag of weed? And I think these people in the front around here in his neighborhood that are looking out the window right now probably think this white boy just came and bought a bunch of weed from Ace. And I did not. It's illegal. I get in the car, and like I said, this thing smells of weed. I roll the windows down. I'm like booking it out of the neighborhood. I didn't even look. I don't even know what's in this bag. I pull in the first gas station I can. I rip the bag open because I'm like, oh my God, what's in here? What was in here? This freaking badass camera and 4 slides. And so, and those 4 slides. And so I was like, okay, this is cool. So I hit him back up because I wanted to know the story. And I was like, hey man, what's up with this camera? Like, I'm just curious about like where you got it from, like the history of it. And he was forthcoming. He's like, this was my grandma's or grandfather's, and they worked at LTV, which is an aerospace place here in Grand Prairie that's long been gone since then. They closed down years and years ago, or at least this branch of it. And he's like, yeah, they worked there, and this was just some stuff they left me, and I just needed to get rid of it because I have no use for it. I was like, okay, sigh of relief. I'm feeling good. So then I'm like, oh well, let me look at this thing and see if there's any kind of marks to say there are, where it came from. And lo and behold, there it is on this one, LTV marking. So I'm assuming this thing was a press or a camera for LTV. There were some pencil markings also inside of here to indicate that it came from there and that they had owned it at one point in time. So I've since marked those or like rubbed those off accidentally or something. I don't remember where they are, but there was some pencil markings in here that say that's who owned it before. So this came from LTV, the aerospace place, and they probably took pictures of airplanes or airplane parts with this thing back in the 60s, 50s, or whenever they were using these things. So pretty cool little backstory. It was fun. Anyways, that's the fun of dealing with used cameras. Sometimes you have to buy a bag that smells like weed to get a really good camera for a really good price. So back to the camera. So we talked about the background glass part. Here's the other piece. So you have to load slides into this thing. These things are the slides. This has film in it. I'm gonna ruin a piece of film so I can show you guys this. But to load this thing, you slide this guy in here. You slide it all the way across until it clicks, okay? And so now it's in there. Now, notice, you cannot see here, okay? Important. Earlier, I had opened the shutter up so that I could show you guys in focus. Well, don't forget to close the shutter. So all you do to close the shutter is just fire this thing off and it closes the shutter. Now it is safe. It is camera and light safe for you to be able to pull the slide out. And so it has these little tines on there and you just flip them over and then you just pull the slide out like this and you're ready to take a photo. So now it has a piece of photo paper in there that is wide open, ready to be shot against. Here's another cool thing on these slides. They're silver on one side, black on the other. Black, when you put it back in there, means you've exposed it, because you're going to take these things and throw them in your bag and you don't know if it's exposed or not. So you have to use the slide to do that. So we'll flip that back on there. And then once you've taken the photo, you pull that guy back out. Now, notice how like clunky that was and how crazy that was. Well, it's important to put this thing on a tripod to take shots if you're going to do like really detailed photographs, because it's hard to get this thing in and out of there. It's not easy, and you're gonna knock this thing around, you're gonna lose some focus. So what I like to do when I'm doing this is I'll get the focus on there, and then I will look through here, this piece here, to line up and find like an exact spot where it was, just in case like the tripod moves a little bit or I clunk it around or whatever. Then I don't really have to lose my framing, as long as I don't feel like it's out of focus. Because it moved too much, I can kind of just go back in there and catch my framing again with it. And then it feels really good and you just take the shot. Now, like I said, you can shoot this thing. Here, let me show you how that works. So this little guy, you just pop those in, pop that down and it clips in. Now, you can shoot this way or you can shoot it this way. I don't really have I've never shot it this way. I've always shot it this way. I've always shot landscape, not portrait. So it just seems kind of clunky and hard to shoot that way. And I can shoot everything I want this way. Alright, so let's close this thing up. Now, this is the other fun thing on these, is this one, it has a clasp thing in the top. I've seen this on a couple other ones. There's a little bitty spring-loaded, like, little piece of metal in here that needs to be bent in a certain direction. The problem is you can't bend it the direction you need to because of the way it's shaped. And then it has a lip here, and it catches on the lip, and then there's a little button that's hidden under this Tolex stuff. There's a little button, and you push it to open it. So mine will not stay closed. Yeah. The other thing you want to make sure is when you are closing this thing up, if you have made these go in and out, you need to put them back to their correct position, because otherwise they will not fold and go into here, and you will bend the rails that the thing goes on, and you don't want to bend the rails. It has a spot here for a camera strap. There's another. I took the actual strap off. There was another strap that went on the side on this side of it here, and the strap was corroded and gross, and so I just ripped that strap off and cleaned this thing up real good. I never use it like that. When I carry this thing around, man, I just put a death grip on it. I'm just like, I gotta hold it. The strap's not gonna really do much for me. So anyways, there you go with that thing. And it's old and cantankerous. It's hard to close. So it's all closed up. It sits flat. There it is, man. That is the bad boy there. And I'm gonna show you one more thing about it. But these are the slides. You can get these slides here. Like I said, for the video, I will run a piece of film. Here we go. Running film in 1, 2, and 3. Film is ruined. But it's important for you to see this. This little guy flips up here, and you actually load the film through this way. So you put the film in, you slide it underneath these pieces, and you slide it down into there, and then you flip that over. And when you flip it over, it has a little rail for you to push up and catch that little thing. Now, this piece of film here, you probably saw it's all wavy and kind of weird looking. This piece of film is an expired piece of film from 1958, I believe, or something like that. So I bought some old film stock. I don't think it's actually going to take a photo. This is another cool thing about this film. You have to load it, you always want to make sure the little notches are on the right. Not all of them have this like weird toothy notch here. This is really old film, like I said, but you just put it on the right here, slide that bad boy in, and you are good to go, and you can take some photos. Yeah, so that's it. Oh, let me make sure I expose this film, so I'm gonna make sure it's exposed for this. It's marked. The other thing you need to buy, this is kind of cheesy, but you need to buy one of these, a little cube level that you can get on eBay or something like that. You can set it on there so you can help level this thing on your tripod and get it where it needs to be if you're gonna try to take a shot. Now, let's talk about the lenses here. Lenses are pretty cool because they're interchangeable. You wouldn't think they would be, but they are. To interchange them, you just pull this lever up here on the top, it releases the top part. There's another one down here on the bottom, push it down, it releases the bottom, and you pull the whole lens board out. So this guy is pulled out here, and yeah, so, oh, what's going on with my lens? Maybe my lens is broken. Not surprised. Oh, okay, there you go, never mind. These lenses are kind of junky. This one especially is kind of a junky lens. I bought this on eBay, this lens board and lens. I don't believe the f-stops are actually true to it, but if you're thinking, oh, I want to add like a modern lens to this, you can't do that because you have got to buy a shutter. Because again, the shutter is in the lens itself. There's no external shutter. So if you're going to put a modern lens on there of some sort, like a Leica lens or something like that, you'll need to figure out how to get the shutter stuff on there correctly. So it'll do that. This is kind of a pain in the butt to put back in here, so I won't, but I'll show you this other one. So I got this one off eBay as well, and somebody made this cool little fun custom case. It's just another lens. This is a 135 millimeter 4.7 lens. This one was a 135 millimeter 4.7. They're the exact same lens. This is like the kit lens that came on them. If you notice, the little piston thing broke off of this one. The arm broke off, and this one has it. I don't think there's anything different about these other than I was trying to find out if the f-stops on these were correct. And I got a really sweet smoking deal on eBay for it. I think I paid like 40 bucks for it. So all in, man, this camera is not costing me a ton of money, which has been good. However, it costs a ton of money in film. Film is not cheap for these things. They are expensive as hell. But you know, it's for the love of art and the fun of that. This case is just crazy, man. Somebody made that. But that's it. This is the camera, man. This is a Graflex Crown Graphic camera. There's other models. This is the cheap one, the press camera, the cheap guy, the Everman's camera. This was not the expensive Ansel Adams one. And look at that cool sunlight I got going on there. I'm like looking like an angel here with light busting through my head. All right, man. So I think that's it, guys. I think I covered everything about this camera. These cameras are awesome. If you have a chance to buy one and you want to get into large format, there's really amazing opportunities to do that. They're kind of making their comeback on large format 4x5 film. I'm telling you, man, the quality of photograph that you get from these is insane. You'll have to do home development. Sending it off somewhere is going to be really expensive to do all this, so you have to have home development tools. There's a Mod 54 is what it's called, and it's a tank that has a little thing that you can put the film into. There's other kinds of tanks that you can use out there that other folks are using. I wouldn't say these are making a resurgence, but I can go down to a camera shop here locally in Dallas and buy film for this. You can buy it on Amazon as well, which is where I buy most of it. And I usually buy the really cheap black and white film because I'm still learning with this, and like I said, shots can be expensive. You can get up to like 10 to 15 bucks a shot for one single piece of film. Yeah, it's expensive. So I think that's all the accessories I have for this thing. There's not much else to it. You know, like I said, you focus on the ground glass and you shoot it. There's gonna be some cool pictures coming up. I'm gonna tell you, one of them I took, it was my very first photograph I ever took with this of my son, and the second photograph of my son, I shot this thing handheld without focusing. I had this thing done here and I was using my feet and the rangefinder in distance, and I shot a picture of him at the park playing on a playground, and I was running around and I shot eight photographs because that's all I have slides for. I got 4 of these. You can put one on one side and one on the other. There's a slide on that side and slide on that side. I had 8 shots at the park. Everybody else is running around with their iPhones, and there's this big goofball with a beard running around with this giant camera taking shots. People are amazed by this thing. When you go take it out and shoot with it, they get dumbfounded and want to stop and look at it. The problem is some of them are dumb enough to stand in front of it while you're trying to take a photo, and that gets frustrating because, again, you have 8 shots and then you got to go to like a dark room somewhere and reload your film. You can't reload your film just out in the open somewhere like you can with 35mm. So that happened to me on Bourbon Street. I set this thing up in the middle of Bourbon Street and was trying to take a picture of the crowd and everybody down Bourbon Street and to get this like cool eerie thing right at sunset, and some jackass walked up like right in front of the camera and was looking at me. He was like, "Are you taking a movie?" And I was like, no movie here. This is a film camera. So, gone long enough, guys. You guys go be awesome. I gotta go jump in this pool. I am freaking hot, man. I am sweating like crazy. Go be awesome. Go make great art. Share it with me. I appreciate it. And you guys go be awesome. See you later.